Hi, friends. Welcome to one more session of Moonshot Conversations. And it's always been a pleasure engaging with all of you on every Sunday at 5 p.m., the Indian Standard Time. At the risk of repeating myself, friends, please watch previously missed episodes and do the journal work. Once our learning management system is up, the journals will come at a very small fee. So if you are someone who only values what you pay for, go ahead and wait. Friends, for the rest of you, I encourage you to download and please do the journal work. Personal transformation awaits you. Lina, let me share some good news. The last episode, The Power of Sound, has been enjoyed by more than 1.2 million people. And
Wow.
what a great roller coaster of a ride we went on. After success of the self-awareness, we went to mindfulness and then brainwave frequencies and then the power of sound. So now we are back in the path of self-awareness, Lina, with the exploration of human needs.
Yeah, well, the good news is that unlike school or math, where learning happens in a linear fashion, the exploration and development of emotional mastery and expansion of human potential, we can allow it to be messy. We can allow it to be chaotic. And we don't have to do it in a linear fashion at all. So as long as each one of us can truly say that every day and in every way, I am getting better and better, it does not matter that we do not follow a straight and structured linear path. So yes, today, let us begin an exploration of human needs.
Fantastic. So are we talking about Abraham Maslow and his hierarchy of human needs?
So Abraham Maslow and beyond. Let's not forget that the hierarchy of human needs published by Maslow was done in 1940. And we have learned a lot about the human brain, body, and mind since that time.
Oh, okay. So I'm sure many people in our corroboree know of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as Maslow stated them, but I guess a review won't hurt. So I'm going to name them as I read them when I was at college. Of course, the journal helped me jog my memory. So at the bottom of the pyramid are needs such as air, water, food, and sleep. Then comes your safety needs such as health, personal and financial security. And then comes the love and belonging needs like friendship and connection. Then comes the esteem need, which is self-esteem, status, and recognition. So friends, at the top of the pyramid is self-actualization need, which is creativity, purpose, meaning, and inner potential. Uh,
So Agnella Rajesh, you're quite on the ball today. You're a very good student. but but I don't know if you know this, but just right before Maslow died, he actually wanted to add another need above self-actualization.
oh, mhm.
This was to be known as self-transcendence.
Okay. And what is the difference between self-actualization and self-transcendence?
So self-actualization is directed only on the individual, on the self. If
Mhm.
I'm self-actualized and I become the best version of myself possible, whatever I'm individually capable of becoming, I become. If I have a goal to self-actualize, then it is an end goal in itself. But once I have met this need, I may feel needs that are beyond the self. And
Mhm.
according to Maslow, this is already being experienced in a lot of world cultures, and in India we've experienced, we kind of experience it as well. So he's saying, notably in Eastern cultures and shamanistic traditions, this need has been experimented with. So there are two reasons why this is not widely known about. The first one is that his sickness, and it was towards the end of his death. And the second is that the concept of self transcendence
Mhm.
leans towards the spiritual, which is something that the world of psychology and science avoids bringing into connection even today.
Oh, so could it be said that self-actualization is fulfilling your own potential and self-transcendence is a need or a drive to become more than their individual self? Does it go beyond that?
So absolutely. So even more than that, right? So a self-actualized person may still care for others, but this would
Mhm.
be by way of satisfying their own need to be an individual. My older brother, who is quite an atheist, would always say that Mother Teresa is selfish. And I'd say, how is she selfish? He says, because she's fulfilling her need. She's satisfying her own need to care for others. So I see it as beyond that, obviously. But so self-transcendence it's beyond that. It's beyond just helping and caring for others. People who have peak experiences, and the need to serve something greater than yourself, and then the whole feeling of connection with the universe and others. And I'm going to quote Maslow's definition itself, right? He says, transcendence refers to the very highest and most inclusive um, of holistic levels of human consciousness, behaving and relating as ends rather than means to oneself, to significant others, to human beings in general, to other species, to nature and the cosmos.
Wow, fantastic. So let us explore why so many people still study Maslow's theory. I recall that actually. We identified human needs in management so we could understand what humans need and what drives and motivates people. So that through this understanding, employers and employees could develop mutually beneficial relationships.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, if it means that if I know what drives you, what motivates you, where you are in the needs pyramid, then I can work out what you need and look at providing it as a means to motivate you, right? So it's
Right?
also important to understand that people go from lower level needs to the higher level ones. So you cannot be thinking about self-actualization if you are hungry, thirsty, sleepy, scared for your safety, or fearful in any way, or you need to feel seen and recognized. So today there's a big argument in America with this whole back to school movement where people are arguing this, that if teachers and kids don't feel safe, how can you expect them to move towards growth? So it's sort of a little bit, similar. So um, the bottom line is, if you're not feeling safe, you can't grow. Remember, we spoke about this once before. If your
Yes.
amygdala keeps getting hijacked, you can't grow. You can't grow and be scared at the same time. So in some sense, the role of parenting is to teach our children to feel happy, successful, and fulfilled. Um, but we need to do it all in balance, because if our kids are hungry, if our kids don't feel safe, if kids don't feel love and belongingness, then they can't really expand into their full potential or become who they truly are meant to be. So the only one criticism of his theory is that psychologists feel that actually love and belonging are as important to our survival as food and water and safety, that people require connection, physical and emotional, with other human beings to release certain healing chemicals like oxytocin, which are as required, people believe, as food, love, food and shelter.
Okay, so Lina, so I'm just going to summarize these. So level 1 is physical survival needs like food, drink, shelter, sleep, and oxygen.
Yeah.
These needs must be met. I'm sure these needs must be met before someone could be interested in learning, working, or socializing. The second then comes is physical safety needs, what you just discussed, the need to feel safe in the world. Then comes level 3, and that is love and belonging to family, to friends and communities, to be accepted and understood, to share love, affection, and inner thoughts. Then I would like to go to the level 4, and this level 4 are all about self-esteem needs, to feel of value, to feel seen, recognized, and appreciated. And level 5 is self-actualized, which is to be self-fulfilled.
Yes, and this level is the minimum of where we want to see all
Yes.
our children, all human beings reach. We want to reach the minimum level of being self-actualized. In fact, we're doing this corroboree because we actually want to exceed that. We want people to get into a state of self-transcendence, because self-actualized is the least level where we will feel complete,
Yes.
joyful, and self-fulfilled. So the key thing that is most important, that what Maslow did for humanity and for psychology as well, because for the first time in psychology, someone studied successful and happy people versus people who are not accomplished or content. Up till that time, till Maslow's psychology sort of focused on people who were who got self-actualized, and people who were happy and successful. The whole world of psychology was only studying people who were described as mentally ill or had something deficit. This is something I feel our school does today. We look at what a kid doesn't have, we don't look at what they have. So it is thanks to Maslow that a whole area of positive psychology opened up and led to this normal world where coaching, therapy, and personal development is like sort of normal today.
And come to think about it, Lina, people around the world in different cultures are actually looking to meet their needs, even if in slightly different ways. And I love that Maslow's work brought a focus for people to create the best version of themselves and fulfilling their potential. Has anyone else worked in this space of human needs and how they drive our behavior, Lina?
Yeah, so the next experience I had after learning about Maslow's theory of human needs in my psychology class in teaching college was Anthony Robbins' At a Date with Destiny.
Oh, and what is his concept or theory about human needs?
So he believes that all human beings are driven by the six fundamental needs. He places the
Okay.
four primary needs, which are certainty, number one.
Mhm.
And this
Mhm.
is based on the assurance that you can avoid pain and gain pleasure. The
Mhm.
second one is variety
Mhm.
or uncertainty. It's a need for the unknown, novelty, change, new stimuli. The third one is significance, the
Mhm.
need to feel unique, important, special, or needed. The fourth one is love and connection. This is a
Mhm.
strong feeling of closeness with someone or something. And then he has two spiritual needs. So the fifth one is growth, which is a constant need to expand one's capacity, capability, or understanding. And the sixth one is contribution, a need to be of service to others, a focus on helping, on giving and supporting others. What differs amongst each of us, Satnil Rajesh, is that we may have all the six needs, but we may value these needs differently.
Mhm.
And what we are primarily driven by is how we value these needs. What are our primary needs and which needs are a little bit more diluted. So that will drive our behavior. Each one of us prioritizes our needs differently, and our
Mhm.
decisions, our actions, and in fact even our thoughts will be based on which needs we put first.
Okay, lovely. So these needs are always present in each of our personalities, the
Yeah.
things we do and the decisions that we make. In fact, some needs will be more important and become your driving needs, and others may be low in priority.
Yeah, so the fascinating thing is once you start understanding this, you kind of start seeing how you prioritize these needs can explain your career choices, your relationships, and other day-to-day patterns that we have. And some are resourceful or helpful, and some are unresourceful or unhelpful. So, but however, you will have all these six needs represented in your life in some way or the other. Um,
Mhm.
and that's something that we all need to be aware of. And this happens in our work and in our personal life. What can bring growth and transformation is just beginning the awareness of the six core needs and what these needs mean to you based on how you prioritize them.
Oh, so certainty, uncertainty or variety, significance, love and connection are the four primary needs that he talks about, and growth and contribution are the spiritual needs. How can your life pan out differently based on what you prioritize?
So one of the first things I want you to reflect on is how many of your behaviors could be based on which needs are not met when you were young. I remember, Agnella Rajesh, I've heard you many times, in interviews, and you say that because you didn't have a home, you didn't have safety and security of a home when you were young, it's become
Yes.
a big driver for you, right? So very often our voids become our needs. So if we don't feel loved when we're young, we look to fill that as a void when we grow up. So if you lacked as a child, you lacked certainty, a home, food, shelter, then these voids could become your primary driver of seeking certainty. So then when you become an adult, you may consciously or subconsciously be spending a lot of your time on meeting these needs.
Mhm.
So remember when we spoke about Osama bin Laden once, and about how he had so many
Yes.
wives. Yeah,
Yes.
and I mean, Osama bin Laden's father had so many wives, and he was one of dozens of children to so many of the wives. Perhaps a lot of the reading of him suggests that, and I'm saying it with empathy because if we come to an understanding that people are trying to meet their voids. So what if he felt he lacked feeling seen or significant or important as a youngster? Um, this could possibly be a key need that led to many of decisions and actions.
Mhm.
Because we all have rules that govern the ways in which we find these needs. So we'll have rules around how we find or how we look for significance or how we look for love and connection. So when you have a need, your overall sense of well-being will be based on whether that need has been being met or not. And everyone ranks these basic needs differently. And the way that they are ranked, Agnel Rajesh, is why you are who you are as a person. The top 4 shape our personality, and the last 4 shape our spiritual needs.
Fantastic. So, Lina, let's explore what each one of these needs are and how they shape our lives, our relationships, our careers, our hobbies, and our personal interests. So, let's see what each of these means. And I would love to start with certainty.
So, okay. So if certainty is one of your top basic human needs, you will need to feel secure and safe about today and the future. You will need
Yes.
to feel in control. When you receive positive recognition or significance, you will be filled with this need for certainty that that recognition, and significance will continue. In
Yes.
order to have a life filled with certainty, your life has to stay the same. And that's a nearly impossible expectation,
Mhm.
for the world to fulfill. So you will look for ways to control everything, including your relationships. You will need, you will need certainty in your workplace, in your relationships, and you will always feel displaced by any change. So
Mhm.
most of your actions will be either about avoiding pain or gaining pleasure, which if you are able to do that, and as long as you're able to do that, that will fulfill your basic human need for certainty.
Oh, so friends, people who crave certainty may feel miserable at this time since life is always going to be faced with some form of uncertainty. Craving certainty all the time seems like a natural recipe for disaster. In fact, people who need certainty would also avoid taking any risk to be an entrepreneur. What about those who crave uncertainty or variety, Lina?
So these are two opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Certainty and variety. So people who there's a certain awesomeness,
Mhm.
to uncertainty and variety. But this can happen in two ways. So some people who crave this as one of the top human needs can take this to an extreme. So these people who are constantly jumping out of planes and doing this and doing that could have a high degree need for uncertainty or variety. So it could also mean that you exchange in frequent changes, jobs, relationships, just to fulfill this need. As you're in a relationship, as you get used to it, as it builds in certainty, you may now say, "Oh, I need variety."
Mhm.
And don't we know many of those people just to fulfill this need? So it kind of means that you're constantly seeking that adrenaline rush and taking
Yes.
unnecessary risks. So there's one thing that a lot of people get confused about uncertainty, because everyone thinks that they want uncertainty, but there's kind of two ways to get uncertainty. One is getting uncertainty in the kind of surprises that you want. So
Mhm.
your wife comes home and gives you with a brand new car. That's an uncertainty that surprise that you want. But there's also surprises that you don't want, and these unpleasant surprises get labeled as problems by
Problems.
people. So can you think of an upside to uncertainty as a need, Agnel Rajesh?
Well, Lina, people who have uncertainty as a need or who thrive in environments of uncertainty may find this time of the pandemic very easy to navigate. I guess it also means you would not be afraid to take risks or to avoid new situations. Lina, I also feel that sometimes we need times of uncertainty to grow emotional and mental muscles. And
Yes.
being this way would be an advantage if you are an entrepreneur. Lina, what about significance?
So if significance is among the top two of your 6 human needs, then
Mhm.
part of meeting that need would include receiving lots of recognition.
Okay.
This can translate into a desire to be seen, heard, and listened to. In short, you just want to be noticed, and you measure significance by what you believe makes you unique compared to everyone else around you. So there's a whole
Mhm.
lot of comparison in that as well, and
Okay.
uh, you'll always have this need to feel special and needed. So we
Mhm.
all have some amount of need of significance, right? We all have some amount of wanting to feel validated and wanting to be seen, special and needed. But if we take this to an extreme, it can cause problems. And the second thing is how we have this need met is very, very different. And it's really
Absolutely.
something that we need to think about. Some people would look to earn lots of, significance by getting a PhD, or, everyone who calls doctor, ma'am, sir. Those are, some ways of getting the need for significance. Or, building massive social media following or making themselves stand out in some way, like people with tattoos all over their body. You can, you can gain significance by magnifying your problems. So if you keep talking about your problems, saying how your wife may be wonderful, but somebody else's wife is always going to be better than yours. If you're constantly doing things like that and magnifying your problems, spending a lot of money, these are not really great ways to meet this need. And the thing is that the media world knows that
Yes.
people will pay anything to have themselves feel special, unique, important, anything that makes them stand out of the crowd. So we were just saying, that the cost of diamonds is going to dive. Why? Because tomorrow your maid will walk in wearing a 5-carat diamond, which no one in the world will be able to tell the difference. Now, where will your wife want a 5-carat diamond? Because it's no longer going to make her feel special, unique, important, blah, blah, blah. So good news.
I hope the wife doesn't demand a 5-carat diamond in every finger that she has. But going ahead, Lina, we use recognition as an extremely important way of keeping up employee productivity. Isn't recognition and significance a major driving force behind human behavior that seeks success, Lina?
Yes, but what we have to understand that this behavior will only continue as long as the external accolades and rewards are there. If it will discontinue in their absence, which is not what we want for our employees, it's not what we want for our kids. So we don't want our kids to, be wanting to grow and learn because they're getting the awards and accolades. So it's also a way you have to understand of setting yourself up for unhappiness, because you will need this external validation constantly, and it's really tiring. It cannot happen. Think of how many models or actors kind of slump, into
Yes.
depression when they age or when their significance ceases, right? Because they don't know how to deal with it after this. So people who can't devise a positive way to feel significant can also start taking drastic measures to make themselves feel good, like turning to alcohol or engaging in frequent arguments. You've always seen the pompous guy who has to win the argument. His need is to feel significant, right? So what happens with this if you're constantly at this level? Others around you, others who are surrounding you, will eventually tire of you, and people, leaders who crave significance will actually surround themselves with less skilled, less accomplished people. So when you're hiring people in managerial and leadership roles, you actually don't want one of their key drivers to be significance. So and because none of this is healthy, right? So what ultimately will matter, what is long lasting for our kids and for ourselves, is how we think about ourselves. If we keep growing and pushing ourselves, as I said in the beginning, if every day we're getting better and better and better, our significance will be grounded and it'll be internal. No one can ever take that away from you.
So friends, how we get significance is something to think about. There are various paths to fulfilling the need for significance. Some fulfill these needs in ways which serve the society, right, Lina?
Yep.
Some in positive, some in negative ways, some by creating and some by destroying, both aiming for significance. So, Lina, what about connection and love?
So, like all needs, the 4 needs of the personality can show up in negative or positive ways.
So, how can connection or love be negative, Lina?
So if love means sharing, supporting, and connecting with the self and others, because don't forget, love and connection is with ourself as well. So if love and connection is one of your top basic needs, you're constantly seeking out close relationships, including a close relationship with yourself, or with somebody or with something. The positive in this is that you can, if this is your need, you can truly understand and awaken yourself to love being a gift of life and fulfilling relationships. They're an incredibly large part of what makes us human and makes us feel happy and fulfilled. But say your top needs were certainty and love because you didn't get it when you were a child. These can show up in very, very needy ways. This could cause you to self-sacrifice your own self-care. And in your need to maintain a relationship, you give yourself away, you give yourself up. And this would be very negative and not a healthy love and connection.
In fact, Lina, I know people who stay in abusive relationships, self-sacrifice without practicing self-care in order to maintain a relationship. That's so dangerous. They are almost so needy that they are dependent on the relationship, Lina. So these are the 4 needs of the personality. Yeah. I can somewhat see some similarities with Maslow's theory. What about the 2 spiritual needs, Lina? Let's look at the need for growth.
So those whose foremost need is growth are quickly striving to be better and to learn more.
Okay.
They're very good at their jobs. The only thing sometimes can be that they tend to move on quickly as soon as they've reached their full potential, right? So anything that's not growing, your skills, your relationship, your business, anything that's not growing and it's stagnating and has too much stagnation, well, we all know stagnation is a downward slide.
Lina, I can see the negative here as well. In fact, a constant striving to be better may be great, but if it is combined with the need for perfectionism, this may be done at a cost of rest and relaxation and lead to elevated stress levels, which we are seeing all the time around us. But otherwise, there is no unresourceful way to show up with growth as a need. So now the final one, Lina, contribution.
So again, no unresourceful way, no unhelpful way to show up with contribution as a need. Growth and contribution are two needs that we should actually all individually aspire to and encourage our children to show up with. People who experience contribution as one of their top basic human needs, they'll always firstly make a big difference in the world, but also they'll feel a great sense of self-fulfillment. And we all know the secret to life is giving. Well, we know it. The marketing world doesn't teach us to know it. They think, they teach us to think that consuming is the biggest. But life is really about creating meaning, and meaning never comes from what you get. It comes from what you give. The only thing that these people should be mindful of is not neglecting those close to them as they step out in their quest to change the world, which I have to admit sometimes I did to my own son.
So the quest to change the world, awesome. Or the quest to make money. I can see that money plays a big role in fulfilling our needs, Lina. Money can give us a sense of security and safety. So it can give us certainty. It can allow us to go on a holiday and bring variety, plenty of it. It can also make us feel important and significant. It can fuel growth and learning, and also allow us to contribute financially to the world around us.
Yes, but and that's why we had a conversation before we started, and I made a distinction between aspiration and ambition, right? Yes. Because the belief I have after working with so many children and adults is this: that unless one has a certain sense of purpose and meaning, you can self-actualize from the theory of Maslow, or meet most of the needs that we've stated in the human need theory of Anthony Robbins. But the deep sense of contentedness and connection with something much larger than ourselves, somewhere, somewhat in the sense of how Maslow termed it, self-transcendence. Without that piece, we may continue to feel some sense of void. And it's difficult to name or articulate it, but it can always be felt. So those who are yearning for something more have to get to the sense of to the stage of self-transcendence or contribution. So sure, money, it can definitely give us some comfort and certainty and give us momentary variety without the emotional muscles to cope with uncertainty. It can give us significance, for sure, but a hollow feeling of significance unless you find it from contribution, and like Mother Teresa did. But love for sure, but how many of us want the type of love Melania has for Trump? Because that's the kind of love you can buy.
So friends, there is no doubt that we all need love. And Lina, I remember you speaking about why we avoid rejection. Because in the past, we survived by belonging to a tribe or a family. And that it increased our chances for survival. That we are hardwired to fear rejection and long for love and connection.
Yeah. And very soon, with the launch of our Corroboree platform, our spiritual tribe will be able to access a very powerful interview I did with Marissa Peer. She's a powerful transformational coach. And she's so revered that she's a coach to many people who found their significance, like celebrities. But you must see her interview. And the secret to finding love and connection comes from a deep-seated belief that you are truly lovable, that you are enough. She's written a book called I Am Enough. And you know what I find intriguing? For so many of the decisions that we take, we do so little self-questioning. I mean, I find parents constantly asking, what school should I send their child to? And my response is, what do you value on a list of 1 to 10? And they're lost because no one's thinking about these things. Nobody's thinking about the self. Nobody's thinking about what they want from the world outside. I mean, how how can one select a school? Because it's, how can I select a school for somebody? Because the parameters that you can value are so many. You can value proximity to home,
Yes.
hygiene, creative curriculum, quality of teachers, inclusiveness, price. The list is endless. But how many of us think that through? How many of us are just basing it on a mindset that's wired for scarcity and belonging to a tribe? So I'll send to my school, to this school because it's so difficult to get into, and the waiting list is so long, and my friends' kids go there. So and I want to say, wake up, mums and dads. We're no longer living in the age of cavemen. You've got to you can think through what you value. Don't value scarcity. Think about what you value and let's find it.
Fantastic. So friends, come to think of this. How much do we think about what we value in a human being, in a relationship? It is usually an attraction based on physical chemistry, and the more unattainable a person, the more desirable he becomes. Seems that even in our relationships, we give very little thought to what we value. We should, in fact, make a list of what we value in our relationships as well.
Yeah. And, I didn't do it the first time around when I got married, but when I found a life partner the second time around, I definitely did it. So imagine if we made a list, it could be wit, it could be safety, it could be power, it could be autonomy, it could be growth, kindness, connection, physical intimacy, emotional intimacy. If we actually had a list, and then we use the power of our reticular activation system that we've already spoken about, we'd be so much more likely to find what we're looking for because we actually know what we're looking for.
Lina, this is very interesting. So how would the 6 needs, how would this play out in the leadership and business?
So we've put up, actually in the journal, we've put a leadership visual based on the 6 needs. But can you imagine how this would show up if each leader had a different need as a priority?
Yes, Lina, I did the journal just before the show. Each one again can have a positive or a negative spin. A leader who has certainty as a primary need will be at risk, will be an absolute risk averse personality. He may want to control other people in the team, or he may use anger as an unconscious choice to gain control. He may be addicted to routine. Lina, but on the flip side, they would also have certainty and consistency about the values, purpose, and vision of the organization. Very much possibly a lot of routine.
So routine, yes, can be productive or unproductive, right? So routines can be very resourceful if they help you move forward, and help you move forward to a sustainable life. Very good. The best way to ask yourself if you find yourself doing too much of a specific thing is this moving me forward to who I need to be to handle life's challenges and problems? So from like meditation, exercise, reading, watching resourceful TV, and movies and sleep, these are all very resourceful routines. So as long as you can answer that previous question with a yes, correct. What about variety?
In fact, Lina, leaders with a primary need for variety may be exhausting to work with. They may act like a constantly moving target.
So you can ask anybody who worked at Kangaroo Kids or Billabong High that was
I'm
me.
sure. I'm sure.
Everyone I worked with had to say this about me, that Lina, you say dive in the deep end and we don't know how we're going to swim, but we just dive with you. That I would keep leaping with new ideas and constantly creating and innovating. And most times the team would tire trying to keep up with me. But on the flip side, it kind of meant that everyone who worked with me and was able to manage this variety would keep learning and growing and expanding.
Absolutely. Ask me about it. Even I can answer that now, Lina. Lina, a friend always asked me that a leader who has a need for significance may have his need to feel respected and important over the needs of his team. He may even join feeling feared. He'll start enjoying feeling feared in some way or the other. Yeah. Someone like this may enjoy being at the top of the hierarchy, the pecking order. A leader with significance as a need may spend a lot of time talking about their accomplishments, intelligence, and sacrifices at the risk of alienating the team. We have all experienced this many times. This leader may consciously or subconsciously be stressed to achieve prestige or power or status. In fact, this leader may also get defensive in the face of criticism and if being told what to do.
Yep. So there are there are other unresourceful ways also, other than the ones you've spoken about. In normal life, people gossip. People
Yes.
play the victim or the martyr to gain significance. So these are unresourceful ways, but there are resourceful ways. The most resourceful way of fulfilling this need of being significance is to be a giver of significance. This means to be a champion and inspiration to others. Being a leader of self and others in speaking up, reaching our goals, and getting good at our craft. By having this continuous awareness and working on being the best version of that you can be, you will then have internal feelings of significance, and no one can take that away from you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. What would you advise a leader who has significance as a strong primary need, Lina?
So if this is a strong primary need of a leader, a quick way to transform this leadership is to, and to be more effective and productive, is to value love and connection more than respect and admiration. So, and also to work less and play more. Pay more importance to relationships, and even take part in contributing for the sake of contributing without receiving any significance for doing so. So, what did you read in the journal about love and connection as a leader's primary need?
So, Lina, a leader who has a high need for love is easily in a place to be manipulated. Leaders who feel that they don't receive love may be vindictive with the employees they are not adored by.
Yeah, and we've all seen that as well, right? So on the flip side, leaders who value love will make an effort to understand those they work with. Their empathy and understanding would increase employee loyalty and retention.
So in the role of leadership, there is very little downside to the valuing growth and contribution. In fact, growth could be a positive way of seeking variety. And while the focus of variety as a need may be seeking of instant happiness, it could be very temporary in nature. Growth is also about seeking variety, but it is about fulfillment and longer lasting.
Yep. So contribution is the greatest form of leadership. So
Yes.
when we focus on something beyond ourselves, we become self-actualized and may border on self-transcendence. If every leader had a vision to help others thrive, what a wonderful world this would be, right?
In fact, 7.8 billion people on this planet, and we all are driven by the same sets of needs in different priorities and intensities and different paths to meeting these needs. Friends, Mother Teresa devoting her life to her needs through one belief is something that we have seen. And then so many others using destruction to meet their needs through another set of beliefs. It is so fascinating to understand these variations. Where to next, Lina?
So we're running out of time. So now I hope that we all have insights into why people around us act the way they do. And I also hope we have empathy, because even if leaders show up in ways that are not, understand that they're trying to fill their voids. So the challenge for everyone of our corroboree is to think before they act. Think about why you are taking an action, what need is calling to be met.
Yes.
A few basic questions you can ask yourself in the journal. Am I needing to act from love or fear, neediness or love? Will this be healthy for me and others? Will this help me to grow? Will this help me contribute? And so the next Sunday, we're going to go into an exploration of values. Values we move towards and values we move away from. This will be so helpful for our corroboree when they want to decide or act in any way, from which school to use, which life partner to choose, which life they want to design.
Wow, fantastic. So friends, I encourage you to download the journal and do the work. Remember that this will move you forward, and it is the secret sauce to happiness, success, and fulfillment. So friends, see you next Sunday on the 20th of September at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time, when we explore the next concept in the process of self-awareness and self-mastery, when we meet again to explore, like what Lina just announced, values. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.
See you next Sunday.